Hi, everybody. To those who were already with us in the previous sessions, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the discussions on AI and film led by my colleague, Stefan Pape. Nice work. And the brilliant group of panelists. If you didn't, don't worry. These will be available online in just a couple of days, so you can always watch them and catch up. To the newcomers who are joining us just now, welcome. It's great to know you're out there. My name is Ana Maria Montero, and it is my pleasure to be your guide for the next hour and a half or so as we make our way to the awards portion of the Ouchy Film Festival. Now, before that, however, we are going to dive into our last discussion of the day. And in case you missed it, in the previous panels, we did look at themes such as, is AI a threat or a tool to the democratization of the movie industry, and the use of AI to guide investment in projects. Now we're going to look at the acting side of these tech trends in the film industry. So in other words, how is the acting craft being influenced? In order to do this, we've lined up another amazing group of panelists, international actors and producers from both sides of the Atlantic that I'm just gonna briefly introduce to you right now. Ladies first, I'm going to kick it off with Margherita Collecina. She was formed, informed, and transformed herself as an actress in Switzerland, Italy, and France. She started her company Femme Théâtrale in 2007, and she survives by acting in theater plays, films, radio dramas, and as a voiceover actress for TV and radio. And she writes, apparently short, poems. Acting and writing are two of the few activities that do come naturally to her. And she wrote a graduation thesis discussing the usage of blocking in theater plays. So welcome, Margherita. Thanks for being with us. You're muted, so I'm going to have you unmute yourself. There you go. Just click on the microphone and then you unmute.
Yeah.
There we are.
Okay, hi. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm not that in, automatic AI.
No,
I'm really not.
Okay, this should be an interesting conversation. Okay. Yeah. All right, no worries, no worries. Okay, next up, we've got Lucas Tavernier. Lucas is a multilingual actor from Ghent who works fluently and regularly in French, English, and Dutch, and occasionally in Italian, Spanish, and other languages. He has a degree in Roman philology and trained as an actor in France. A jack of all trades, comfortable with Commedia dell'arte mass, he has worked in Belgium and abroad. On stage, he worked in Paris, in open-air settings, and famous venues such as Théâtre Royal des Galeries. In the cinema, he has worked with George Clooney and Nicolas Boukrif, and he worked as a translator of theater plays, wrote a show, and regularly produced theater shows. He works occasionally as a producer in the audiovisual world, and he is currently pre-producing a feature that he has also written. So, Lucas, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Nice glasses. All right. Next up.
If you have to live into old age, you have to do it with his style.
Well, nicely done. All right. Next up, fellow American, Larry Check. Founder and CEO of South Point Pictures, Larry Check is getting an applause, is an American-born actor and producer known for assembling some of the best creative and financial minds in the industry. He is a two-time graduate of the Festival de Cannes Producers Workshop and regular on the international festival circuit. His first short film, the film noir Absinthe, qualified for the 90th Academy Awards. He holds a certificate in venture finance from the University of Oxford and has studied at the famed Stella Adler Studio of Acting in New York City. He is set to star alongside screen legends Claudia Cardinale, Brigitte Fossi, and Rossi De Palma in the upcoming comedy Second to None. Larry, it's great to have you.
Good morning from Miami Beach. I'm on vacation.
Good morning. Are you really just trying to piss me off? Is that what you're doing? Is that how we're going to start this panel? Because
hold on. I've got Cuban coffee too.
No, these are fighting words, Larry. Fighting words. This is wow. Okay. All right, next. No, I'm happy you're on holiday, and thank you for taking the time, especially when you're on holiday, to join us. That's
My
really
pleasure.
great.
I'm happy to be here.
Okay, and finally, we have Carlo Dursi, who will be joining us just a little bit later, but let me go ahead and give you the few liners on him. He is a feature film and moving images creative producer with more than 15 years of experience in the field. In 2004, he started up Potenza Producciones in Spain, as well as its Italian subsidiary, Carlo Dursi Produzioni, producing films that have been selected in A-category film festivals such as Venice, and that have been acquired by OTT platforms, broadcasters, and pay TV operators such as Netflix, Arte Sundance, TVE, or Viacom networks, among others. In 2017, he was selected by the EFP, the European Film Promotion, to participate in the Producers on the Move as the official representative of Spain in the Cannes Film Festival. So again, Carlo, here's to hoping that you join us shortly. Now, a quick reminder before we do get started with the panel, we will have a Q&A session at the end. So we'll try to make sure we save just a few minutes. So be sure to click on that little Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen. We all, unless you've been living under a rock, we're all familiar with this Zoom protocol. So just click on the button, send in your questions, and then we will be addressing those hopefully at the end of the panel. All right, then, let's get this party started. Now, I realize that most of you wear multiple hats, so writers, producers, as well as actors. So hopefully we'll be able to get some of these other hats if we have the time. But to kick it off, I'm going to ask you to put on those acting hats for me first. What has changed then in the new digital age in terms of acting? Larry, you're on my screen. Tell me, what are your thoughts? What are the big differences? Has it become easier, more difficult?
It's become easier, but those of us that are like true people that want to be in the room, especially auditioning and having that energy between the casting director, you miss that. I miss it desperately. We do a lot of self-taping now. We do a lot of this right here with, if you were a casting director and I would have my sides and just pretend like I was with Margherita somehow doing a scene. And it's difficult, but we have to adapt. We're lucky to still be working.
Yeah.
Margherita, go ahead.
Yes, that's true. I'm sorry for my English, which is not as good as the other, but it's my Italian or my French. But you know, I spent all my life till now trying to have a great and safe relationship with my unconscious, you know, because I have to give back to the camera, to the director, to the theater audience, and whoever, the most real feeling, which I already felt when I was, I don't know, a child. It's not just a Stanislavski method, okay? It's really what I believe in. So it's really hard for me to not to see also the problem and the limitation that this AI, can we say that like this? Yeah. Will put on our actor's life and way of creating a character which is not just superficial, you know. The character you will cry with, okay? You will be involved emotionally with. I don't know if it's enough clear the way I am talking in English.
Yes, it's
okay. Thank you.
Yes, it's totally fine.
No, you know.
So you know, kind of just in summary though, then you find that digital age has made maybe your life a bit more difficult as an actor.
The more, you know, more complex, not difficult. You know, when you fall in love with a man or a woman, you like her or his complexity, you know, not her. If he or she is too easy, too linear, you don't fall in love, okay? So you understand what it's not harder. You know, I'm sorry for the parallelism. It's not harder. It's not I don't like digital era, okay? It's just more complex. it's like an allegoria, allegory, a text you can much more level. And I see that complexity, and I can't say, yes, it's just amazing, exciting. It's more complex, like a beautiful woman or a man you fall in love with. Okay.
Okay. All right. I'll take that.
It was a little bit confused, but I think.
No, I think we got the gist of that. What do you think, Lucas? What has it made it easier, better, worse? I don't know.
Different. I would say different. I mean, some things are definitely easier because self-taping does allow you to avoid going to Amsterdam or Paris or London and do the castings physically. And I think so distance is no longer an issue. You can self-tape, and it's now accepted much more than before to self-tape. Before sometimes you had to insist, oh, I can't make it to Paris. Can I self-tape? And everyone's like, oh, we're not sure about that, And now it's like, if you don't self-tape, sometimes there is no transportation. So yes, please do self-tape. Otherwise you don't have anyone auditioning. So yes, but I think even more than before, and Larry said it, if you're a person's person, before, if you didn't have an agent, you could go up to productions, you could go up to casting directors, present yourself, find ways to without being a harassing person, present yourself. That has become now very difficult, not to say impossible. So I think even more than before, having an agent who has access to the digital platforms where the breakdown lists are is of even more importance than before. And if you don't have an agent, I wouldn't know where my agent finds the castings. He gets me castings, but I don't know where he finds them. But of course, he's on digital platforms where there are breakdowns of projects, and then he has, of course, the contacts that allows him that allow him to offer me a casting possibility. So whereas before you could sometimes casting directors would themselves send out a casting mail, hey, I'm doing this or that casting, and that is especially in Belgium, which is a smaller country, changing a lot. Before productions would cast themselves. Here now they go through the digital platforms, and that is a big change, especially in smaller countries, I notice.
And does it sounds like it also now, before maybe in Belgium you competed with, the Belgian acting community or European, but now it's open to the world. Now it's international casting somehow with the digital platforms.
And it's good because it's touched down with international competition. So that means it's good because you have access to parts you wouldn't have access to before, but there is of course more competition. And the local markets, local productions, tend to have difficulties in financing because they have to compete with the Amazons and the Primes and the Disneys and the Netflixes of this world. So they will also internationalize and try to find international stars for their local productions. And
how do you?
It's a changing environment. It's changing. It's as Margherita said, it's complex, but it's still joyful. If you find the joy in it, you can keep on moving.
Of course, I'm sorry, Anna. Can I just
please jump in? Go ahead.
I was thinking about what Larry and Lucas was talking about the possibility that this digital era gives us. Of course, this is not complex. It's much easier. Also with this coronavirus, this devil coronavirus has been so much more easy for us. I'm talking for all the community of Swiss Italian actors, not Swiss German, and all the Italian actors. We had so much opportunity with this Zoom and self-tape, so many, much more than before. Of course, this is really a good thing. But I was talking about the set, when you are on the set and you can't have a real relationship with your partner. That was the complex thing I was talking about.
It's the energy that you get back from the other actor, and the other actor needs that energy. You have to match that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Obviously,
a great actor react as good as he act. I don't know how to say good in English, but a big actor, in my opinion, and not only in mine, I think, is the one who can also in a small part, okay, in a small role, react as good as the biggest role and the biggest actor, you know. And if you have not the other human being with his frequency, okay, his vibrational body and feelings, and the unknown world, which continues to vibrate, it's a little bit more complex.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear that. Larry, what are your thoughts then on what we were talking about earlier with Lucas in terms of the effects of digitalization in general?
You know,
on the
there's
craft.
the one thing I do like about when I was at Adler and social media was just starting, for example, and two actors walked into a room and they were both exactly identical for the role, basically, both 6'2", blondish gray, blue hair, blue eyes, blue hair, blue eyes.
That's possible.
It doesn't work.
And if one had 10,000 Twitter followers and one had no Twitter account, who's the part going to go to if they're equals? Back then, they would say that it was the person with the Twitter followers that were real followers because they had a built-in audience for the show already. So these are tools that we have to have as well. Our social media has to be on point because there could be casting directors just searching around right now. They go onto our Instagram, they see one picture of me in Sedona, Arizona or something hiking, and they're like, well, we're casting a guy who needs to be a little rough around the edges and can get through the woods or something. Let's give him a call. It's the same with if you go on the Lucas, you just type in Lucas's name. He has every single look imaginable, and the same with Margherita as well. That one picture, Margherita, of you smiling up close, incredible. It's all teeth, and it's so memorable. I love it. But that's what we have to put out there to the world. And one thing I want to say too, because I know we don't have a lot of time, we have a responsibility right now because a lot of the world's hurting. And I know we hurt extra deep because we're actors sometimes, because we feel deeper some of the time. And we have a responsibility to make great art to help heal the world. And this is why we're actors, I think. And so we're in a very fortunate position right now.
To that, it is indeed important to care about your social media presence or your web presence to begin with. And it's something I'm struggling with because I try to have indeed pictures out there on the web. If people Google my name, so they can find elements. And sometimes as a producer, I bump into a guy and I say, oh, he could be interesting for this or that part. And I search for him or her on the web and I can't find any picture. Then I make a call, say, what are you doing? You're an actor. You should be visible. I mean, it's part of your job. But for instance, I don't have a Twitter account, and I don't take one because I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be able to manage it because, and you have to have now and a Twitter account and a Facebook and an Instagram, and then you have to have so many things. And I think one of the big challenges is now to make your choices in those things and to be coherent with the choices you make. And it is a question you have to ask yourself. I won't say every day, but every 3 months, there is a new social media. Do I do it?
Yeah.
Do I don't? What am I going to do on it? And that does make the job a little bit harder if you don't have a management taking care of that stuff.
All right, exactly.
We're like paddling under the water very, very quickly while we remain calm up top.
Yeah,
No?
exactly. Exactly.
Like when we go to the festivals, especially, I met Lucas at Cannes.
Yeah.
Maybe 5-7 years ago, and we've kept in contact over the years. And you know, I think he either emails me, but the majority of the people that I see from Cannes and from all the other festivals are on Facebook or they're on Instagram, and I'll just remember them. Even if we touch base once or twice a year, I'll remember them. And okay, there's a part coming up, or maybe they have something for me, and it's really great. Margherita, you're going to be getting your friend requests from me, and Anna Maria, you know that I've already stalked you on Twitter, so. I've done that already.
Well, we share taste in Cuban coffee. So if we come back now to something that Lucas mentioned at the beginning, you touched just briefly on the streaming platforms. Of course, they're disrupting the industry, on so many levels, have implications for directors, for actors, for distributors. What are the impacts on the actors specifically? I'm talking about the streaming platforms. How does this affect your work? I mean, I can only assume that actors dream of a deal with a streaming platform, but am I wrong?
Well, the deal that I think a lot of us dream, that are producers as well, is to get a multi-picture deal or a development deal with a studio. When we were in Cannes, I think it was the year that Will Smith was on the jury, Jessica Chastain, a couple of others, and I looked down the row, and they were all actors, but all of them were producers as well. And I'm like, my God, I said, that's what you have to do. You just can't keep trudging through these auditions. You have to make your own material. And if something happens, but that keeps that, the garden of your soul, that creativity alive. You have to feed that consistently. And I think that works by making your own work. And this too. My gosh, I think there's a dog in the ocean. Look, guys. There, you see? Or maybe it's a pelican.
Larry, I don't know if it's wow. I really can't understand why, but in the a little bit sad Switzerland, where I'm right now, it's incredibly. I don't know. You are in Miami Beach. I am in Switzerland, in the mountain. It has to be. It's raining, but it's 50 degrees. I'm so sorry. I was moving from where I was before. I'm so sorry because it's so hot. Sorry.
No,
maybe it's Miami Beach. Okay. Maybe it's because of you, because you are there, and I'm looking to the sea. It's 2 years I can't see.
You know where I go when I'm in Europe and I film a movie? Do you know where I go afterwards to kind of reward myself? I go to Switzerland. I go
nice.
to go hiking in the mountains.
Really?
Yep.
Nice. Did you have Lucas? Did you have anything you wanted to add on the platforms?
I can only speak for the local markets I'm most familiar with, which was Belgium, which is Belgium. But before, if I wanted to do castings in France, I needed my French agent. I still have my French agent, but my local agent, which is Lucky Star Talent Agency, has managed to tap into those international platforms. So from my point of view, I have now more castings than just the local castings, because to a certain extent, there is more competition. But if you come from a smaller country where there were less productions anyway, for the moment, there are, for me, more castings. But that's for the moment. I mean, it's changing very rapidly, but for the moment, for me, there is a benefit.
Okay. All right. Now that you bring up the casting specifically, again, so the industry, it's traditionally heavily depended on that gut feeling, right? In the end, the casting director went on a feeling of, oh, I like this person for whatever reason, right? Now you've got these new AI tools that are, on the one side, helping platforms and producers select their talent, as you mentioned, and in some ways making the lives of actors easier. But how do you honestly feel about the usage of AI in this casting process?
Hey, Sammy, are you listening? Go like this. He's the head of Largo. Lucas, go ahead. You go first.
Yeah, I think it's like any technology. It depends how you use it. You can use AI to have a good kickstart of having looks at different profiles and then decide, okay, are we going to follow what AI is telling us, or are we going to go against it for this or that reason? And I'm not sure to what extent. I still have not experienced it yet. AI will have the final word on everything. For instance, if the main character is redhead, and you have to be, well, I want to cast for the brother of the main character, because I mean, there will still be physical necessities to cast certain roles and certain parts. So I think it depends on to what level you give AI power of decision.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So as an actor, do you feel like you are you threatened by the idea that a machine is going to select your parts for you instead of a person? Or does it matter?
Well, if I can't be threatened by something I don't know well enough, because I don't know what are the criteria? Is it the number of followers on Instagram? Is it, I mean, how do you measure talent? What's bankability? And then if it comes to bankability, I'm sure to be the last on the list, because I come from a market where bankability, well, we have 6 million people maximum who can go to a Flemish movie. You know, that's the whole Flemish market. Count babies and you know, people who have 100 years. So if bankability is a criterion, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's game over for me, but I don't think that will be the only criterion.
I think the Hollywood system has been doing this for years. They use the same actors again and again, the top of the top A-list stars, even back to the 30s and 40s when they were grooming them and having, you know, acting classes on the sound stages, and then they would go into dancing classes and then elocution classes and everything. Now it's Hollywood has that formula, and that's why they call them Hollywood movies. It's not cinema. The ones that were in the program this year, the 5 nominees were astounding. So far from Hollywood. It's art. It's high art. It's cinema art, and that's why I love Europe so much, because, like Margherita says, it makes you cry. Some of the movies just absolutely make you feel very, very deeply. But I think there's a case for both. Would Lucas and I love to be the new X-Men? Yeah. Because I would buy this film instead of just renting it for one night, you know? That being said, I think we just have to use it with a grain of salt right now, AI. We have to embrace it because it's there. And it's also making the job easier for casting on the back end as well, because the scorings and so forth do exist. And, you know, not everybody knows it. It's very, very new right now. But I think it's going to, just like, you know, computers were here and it wasn't like a slow gradual, it went like this. I think the same is happening with AI right now, the growth curve.
Interesting. What about you, Margherita? What are your feelings?
I would like to know, what do you think about fragility? We say fragility. Okay. What do you think personally, as artist or as human being, about the fragility of a woman? I'm an actress. I'm a woman, and a director or a producer can see palesemente, evidentemente, in a very clear way, my fragility, and if fall in love with this artistically. What about AI? What about what you can add? What about post-production? What about objects in the set that are not there, with which I cannot make a true relation, and that they can't evoke in myself, in my fragility, which is the thing that makes me a great, if I am, I'm not talking about me, evidentemente, a great actor, a great artist, okay? I'm so sorry that my English cannot explain exactly what I mean, but maybe you can, that was my...
How would AI recognize your ability as an actress, and how would that be taken into account by AI? Is that what?
Yes. Isn't it a wall that AI? Isn't it potential wall that will create some problems for a producer or a director by choosing the best actress, the more sensitive, the more I mean fragility as a good thing. You know what I mean? The more
notice that characteristic in you.
Yes. No, I'm sorry. You know what you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think it will depend on the features AI will take in, and that's what the curiosity I have is, what are the features that AI will take into the calculation and into the equation, and is it just bankability, or will there be also artistic features that will be taken into? And I'm much more frightened by the imminent bankruptcy of the cinema system than by AI, because the cinema system allows art movies, as Larry says, to meet an audience. Streaming services, I think, will just go for what is bankable based on your previous choices. You will probably like this book based on your previous choices, like this series, and then you make predictable stuff. And there is nothing bad about it, because I sometimes like to have, a predictable television evening. But what Larry says, the great art movies, they need to find their audience, and till now they did so in cinemas, and that is something that frightens me much more than AI, which is just a technological tool, and it will all depend on how it is used. But the environment where art could meet its audience, and which is closed for the moment, at least in my country, that is really frightens me much more.
I agree with you. Yeah.
It's changing a great deal. The Cinerama Dome in Los Angeles, where they filmed Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, is just going bankrupt. The whole ArcLight.
It's like heartbreaking.
Yeah,
it's heartbreaking. I've lived in LA many years. So
where did you live?
In West Hollywood most of the time.
I live right by Pink's Hot Dogs.
Nice. I lived on Flores. Anyway, the point is, very familiar with the ArcLight in the Cinerama Dome.
So you know what it's like when you see a movie at the Pantages, at the Egyptian, at the ArcLight, at the whatever. It's an experience. And that's a cut down experience from what they experienced when they first opened in the 20s and 30s. They had prologues and orchestras and animal acts and everything before you even saw the movie. And amazing organs with a concert. And then the curtains would open one at a time, 2, 3 curtains, and then boom, Paramount, boom, Warner Brothers, 20th Century Fox. And I'm getting chills right now thinking about it. That's going nowhere. It's just like Broadway, that's going to go nowhere. Someone's going to come in and save that theater. It's going to be Tarantino. It's going to be one of the streamers. It's going to be something because they need it. Now compare that with going to your local multiplex with 16 screens, generic popcorn, and a Coca-Cola. It's not the same experience. It's a different experience. And it's also the same experience, another different experience when you're on your couch and you're binge watching The Crown from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and you watch the entire, and you're like a zombie, but you feel like you've become part of them. One of the things I think too, that when you are on a Netflix or an Amazon show and you're able to be all the programs are downloaded at once instead of one every week, and you're being binge watched by millions of people around the world and the country, your scores AI-wise I believe will go up, because your recognizability factor, your recognition factor will go up as well, because you're in that person's living room for 12 hours. They've gotten to know you. Do you think, Tobias Menzies, who played Prince Philip, who you kind of look like, young man, Lucas, you know what I'm talking about, Tobias?
I'm sorry, I was checking the Q&A because there are already some questions in the chat. I didn't know if you noticed, and out of curiosity, I'm sorry, Larry.
No, it's okay.
My apologies.
So you look like Prince Philip from The Crown. His name is Tobias, the actor. So he is so well known right now, and the same who played Prince Philip in Lady Di. They had this arc from going from little recognition or mild to like world international recognition, which is the same that one feature film can do for you as well that's successful. So the whole model's changing. It really, really is. And we're just on that cusp of change, and we have to embrace it.
In one of the earlier panels, this idea of using AI in the casting process, whether it helped or hindered casting against type. It's a little bit to what Margherita, you were saying earlier, which is, maybe they're looking for, a 6'2" redhead, but then this, 5'3", brunette walks in and they're like, oh, wait a minute, we hadn't thought of that. But AI isn't going to give you those options. How do you guys feel about that?
Have you seen Mrs. Maisel, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
It's marvelous.
Marvelous. It's incredible. How about her manager? I forget her name, the actress.
I forget. I know her face exactly, but I don't know her name.
You think that was what they had in mind when they cast that role?
I have no idea.
She probably came in and just slayed the audition with that character, and it was so memorable. And it's just spectacular, that role. It's so memorable for me. The entire last year, that's probably one of my top 10 favorite roles in performance.
Yeah, that was really great. Now, now I'm just going to ask you to put on, we've already, again, talked a little bit about as producers thus far, but really, if you put now your producing hat on, what kind of experiences have you had thus far with AI? And yeah, what's it been like? Do you see leverages, threats? Lucas.
Well, I applied or submitted the scripts of the feature I'm writing to AI just to find out, okay, what does it learn? Because I'm not a professional writer. I wrote a theater show, comedian, larger characters. I never wrote a movie, and so for me, it's a learning tool right now as a writer / producer. So, but I haven't gone any further than that yet, and I'm still, and I need someone to help me to read the report, because I get a report in digital. I mean, it speaks a language I don't understand. It's English, but and so I have some assistance in getting all the learnings out of it. But that is my experience till now. Okay. Because as I'm not a writer, I want to know where the flaws are in the writing, and if AI can point them out and say, this is in your script, you know, there the rhythm goes down or whatever, then I mean, it's interesting for me and it can save me probably a lot of time, I hope.
I'm sure the fine folks at Largo can give you a hand figuring out your report there. What about you, Larry?
So we've got 3 in development right now, and 3 of them are uploaded to Largo. And what helped us is our casting. When we're making a pitch deck, we put the potential actors that could be with each role. And when we uploaded it to Largo as well, and they're scored with their percentages for suitability to that role. And it confirmed especially for our lead actresses and our lead actor, our number 2, right under her, they scored well off the charts because our gut was right. So you can't take that gut away. AI confirmed what we felt in our gut already, which was good, that she was a perfect match for the role, which was fantastic. Now, when it comes to little details like suitability of script and so forth for age range for PG-13 versus all audiences and so forth, that's a little bit more detailed where I have to learn more too, because again, when you're looking to sell and pre-sell a film, when you give it to your sales agent, and they're taking it out to the world, and that their country can sell a G movie better than a PG-13 movie, we can adjust some of the lines if we're just going from that way. If we're going from a pure artistic standpoint, we're going to stick with the script because we believe in the writer and we see where it's going. But for us, it's just the casting has been great. And then there's people that we thought would be great for a role, and AI comes back and says, sorry, you're scoring 50, 60%. And it's not a match. Yeah, but if you believe in that actress, I would still personally fight for them, or actor. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, in that moment, do you still listen to your gut, or do you listen to the?
It's still too fresh right now because the offers haven't been made to that person. I would leave it up to all the producers and the investors as well to see, and the writer. I would probably stick with my gut. You're putting me on the spot, but yeah, I would stick with
Okay, it's my job.
Yeah.
And Margherita, tell me, as I understand it, you haven't had experience with AI yet then, right? No. Okay, and from what you've heard,
yes,
where are you? Are you leaning towards maybe I'll give it a shot, maybe I'll upload one of my?
You mean I'm sorry, you mean on set on when?
Have you had, okay, let me back it up. Have you had experience with AI acting or producing? No, right? Okay, yeah. Okay. So from what you've heard thus far in the conversation, do you think it could work for you in either way as an actor or as a producer?
You know, something very important to say is that I'm a writer and I'm a poet. Okay, so I live in a world completely, which is completely the opposite from the world of acting. So I'm really divided in two. Okay,
Gemini.
So, Yes, when you talk about AI, for me, it could be a comfort zone, okay? Because everything is without, how can I say, real experience, human being, feelings. But I'm also a poet. Okay, I don't know how to answer. Can you does anybody know French or Italian a little bit?
Je peux traduire si tu veux.
Tu parles français?
Oui. So if you want me to translate, I'll translate for you.
Ah, merci. Parce que ce que je veux dire, que j'ai jamais eu des expériences sur cette avec l'intelligence artificielle, et ça m'étonnerait beaucoup d'aimer ça. Mais comme je suis poète aussi, je suis un peu solitaire, et peut-être que j'irai me sortir bien dans ce domaine un peu abstrait, tu comprends ce que je dis, plus stérile, je sais pas avec beaucoup de gens, pas à la napolitaine, je sais pas comment dire, comme le cinéma qu'on fait, la télévision, le théâtre, avec beaucoup de public, beaucoup de relations humaines, beaucoup de peau.
Tu peux dire ça?
Ouais, mais je l'ai jamais expérimenté et je sais pas. C'est comme si j'étais séparée en deux.
Okay.
Et je sens une sorte d'excitation pour ce monde-là,
Okay.
totalement étrange, mais aussi un petit peu de peur.
Okay, so, and correct me if I'm wrong, Margherita, she says, I would be surprised to love that, but as I'm a poet, I'm also a solitary person, so I might just love it just because it is a kind of sterile environment without a lot of skin, so to speak. Yeah, imagine a theater in Naples with a lot of people and kissing and hugging, and that's not her world. So she might like it because of the fact that it's such a sterile and maybe or at least abstract world. But she hasn't got any experience with yet. But it is something that she, as she is a split person, actress and poet, she might love when she comes to meet it in real life.
Okay.
Correct me if I did not translate it.
It's perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucas, for doing that. I really appreciate it.
I wanted to come back to what Larry said in the beginning. It's creating your own work, and I think if as long as you do that, and as long as you can keep a certain degree of control on the creation of your work, you don't have to be afraid of artificial intelligence. I think it's only becoming frightening if you don't know who's using the tool and to what purpose.
Yeah, maybe it's about. Yes, sorry. Maybe it's about giving the power to someone else's hands, no, virtual ones. So maybe it becomes worse for me. But it's just I'm just frightened, and I have to cross it and go to the other side of the river.
Well,
Write a poem about this.
I appreciate your honesty, Margherita. Thank you.
Yes,
thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Okay, I'd like to jump now into some of the questions from the audience that we have gotten throughout our discussion. So we're going to kick it off. Yeah, with the anonymous. We have an anonymous attendee. So for the panel, how would you get the idea of being suggested as an actor for a potential character by an AI tool and being selected by a producer for that character? It would be nice, such experience. Are you flexible to this kind of approach from producers to cast characters? I feel like we covered this a little bit, but if you want to add something.
Well, I think as an actor, you're happy to get a job proposal. Always, and then it comes to what kind of cast, what kind of part is it? Is it as an actor, will it be a challenge for me, etc.? And then there will be other kind of things that come into play. But I think it's always nice to get a job proposal.
One time, the AI profile on me, I took a sneak peek, and I was kind of surprised what it came up with, and then I realized what it was. But it described me as it was apocalypse, blood, gore, zombie, and all these keywords were coming up. I'm like, what the hell? I can't submit this. And then I figured it out that I was in a movie about the end of the world, and it was about an apocalypse, and I played a supporting role where I had guns, and I was ready for everyone to come attack myself and my family. And so those were the keywords because it analyzed the rest of the script. So then we finally were able to tweak the algorithm a bit and input some more things that I've done in the past. And then it softened it. So thank God it's not all blood, guts, and gore for Larry. There's a little bit of romance and
coming of age.
Oh my God.
No, Margherita, what about you? Would you be open to producers using AI methods to cast you?
Of course, of course, yes. As Lucas told before, of course, I'm looking for a job. I'm looking for it's my dream. It's not a job. It's something I have to do, of course, in all the ways possible. Yeah.
Okay, great.
The future one.
Whatever works, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we've also got Claudia. Claudia, I'm gonna kill your name. I think it's Ciciol, not sure, but Claudia with a K. What is your opinion on how the digital era and its tools like social media allow you to connect with the audience and to get to know people's reactions? Yikes, this goes into the whole relationship management thing, but what do you guys think? But
I'm pulling it up on my Instagram. Go ahead. What do you see this? This is so, hold on. All right, so can you see that picture or no?
Yeah, you're in a top hat, black and white.
I'm in a top hat, and I took that in Etretat or on Paris Plage at an antique store, and it was when they were casting Batman.
Okay.
And so I found out. I tagged Ben Affleck, Matt Reeves, who was the director, and I said I'm available to play Batman's dad. And so I just wanted to go out to put it out there, but that's what you got to do. You got to be creative. And they could say, who is this schmuck from Jersey? Or, oh, this guy's pretty creative, you know? Yeah. So you put it out there. And now 2 years later, I'm showing it at a film festival. So.
Very nice. Lucas.
Yeah, it's you have to try things out. When you do a production or a short movie production, you create a Facebook page and you post stuff on the cast that will be involved, and you see how people react, and you create your audience before the movie is out. So it is definitely a tool that can bring in some interest if you try things out and if you're eager to learn. It won't be always a success, but you have to try things out.
Also opens you up to more criticism, right? Too. I mean, if people don't like what you're doing, then they can reach you directly and tell you that. It's kind of hard, no?
Do you deal with that on Twitter a lot? Do you receive comments sometimes?
I don't have a Twitter account.
No, Anna Marie.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, a little bit. Not a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah,
you get trolls. You know, you get people.
Very likable. We ran your AI profile.
Sam, I'm going to ask you about that later. Oh, okay. All right. So is there anything you wanted to add about social media, Margherita? So that allows you more to connect to the audience and to know people's reactions?
Yes, I'm not a producer. I'm just an actor, and of course, it makes me feel so good and so sure and so comfortable with my work, with my job. When the audience is in relationship with me, with the social network, but I'm not that social, okay? Maybe you already understand that, but I'm not that much. But when I have this big answer from the public, I feel I'm not in the right way with my skeptical think about this digital era, okay? The people in silence through social network tell me, okay, just relax yourself about it. Just take it easy. It's just a computer. It's just a social. It's just another way of communicate. It's just that. It's just communication.
Exactly. No, that's
just
right.
to be open. It's just a request of open yourself much more than before.
And as Lucas pointed out at the beginning, it requires an effort, of course, to maintain all of these social media networks. Okay, and this one is for Lucas. Do you think AI should take into account the physical feature for the role? Do we risk to have problems with ethnicity under representations if that's the case?
I have no idea if we should take it into account. I think the algorithm takes features, and it's the problem you also have when you take AI, for instance, to security cameras. It all depends on what you put in the algorithm. And I think for castings, it's important that you make a coherent and consistent cast. And if you want people to believe that there is a family, yes, well, there is a limited range of people that I can make believe that I can be a family of. Biologically speaking. And so, but if that is not a matter that you have to make believe, I don't have to be really the biological brother, but just a brother, then it doesn't have to be taken into account. But I'm not the one writing the algorithms. So again, for me, it's a tool, and it depends on how you use it. And sometimes good tools can give bad results, and then it's up to you to say, okay, I don't use the tool because it gave me a bad result. And it's what Larry said. Sometimes the algorithm will say this is not a match, but I will still defend the actor to the producer and the investor because I believe in the guy or in the girl. So for me, the answer there is ask the programmers how they write the algorithm, because I have no clue.
A lot of nodding going on there, Larry.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you have to use your gut. I mean, it's an emotional. One thing it's on my mind right now. Margherita just keeps saying, "I'm an actress. I'm only an actress. I'm only an actress." You know, I do casting as well because we have to, because we're producers and we help with the casting process. No algorithm in the world could say what Margherita's qualities are right now, but on the screen, she's coming across as incredibly likable, incredibly castable, and you want to know more about her as a character. An algorithm cannot do that. It's just a tool in your tool belt. That's all that it is for right now. You know, I'm sure there's going to be movies that are going to be 100% algorithm driven down the line, but to get that negligible quality of likability, vulnerability, romantic, all of that, it's going to be hard.
Or chemistry between actors. I'm not sure that the algorithm can take into account the chemistry that can occur and you know, both be generated by actors once they're on set.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a really good point. So then, as Paul Gordon is asking, is AI the quintessential typecaster?
Oof. Sammy, what do you think? Put in the comments.
See if we get a smile. Wow. What do you guys think?
I think it will depend on the features of the algorithm.
Yeah.
If you want typecasting, you will get it. But I mean, Google will make an algorithm and say, based on your previous choices, you'll like this. And so the more complex movies we keep on making, the more complex the algorithms will be. So I'm not sure it will be eventually the quintessential typecaster.
Most casting directors do see you within a small box. You know, you are who you are, and you go out and you're going to have success auditioning for those roles. Once you start going out for the crazy redhead who's maniacal. Oh, we have somebody else. Hi.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say hi. Pamela, we're coming. We're coming.
It might be a bit more difficult. I remember back when I was at Adler in New York, and we had one of our teachers, we all sat in a circle, and then one person sat in the middle, and we all had index cards, and we had to write down what we think that person was, their top qualities: blue collar, white collar, rich, poor, where did they live, did they have kids, were they married, are they close with their family, and everything. And almost everybody had the same comments for that person in the center, because you are who you are. Your visage here, your mask is who you are, and you can't change that. And some people do try to change it, but then that's when you lose, you lose the soul of a character. Michael Lonsdale, the famous French actor who just died, Michel Lonsdale, was a friend of mine, and he played Drax in James Bond. He won the Caesar for Of Gods and Men, and he, in some of his pictures, especially late in life, the eyebrows were out to here, the hair was long, the lines in the face were just really just chiseled in everywhere, and there was a wear in his face, but there was such love and empathy that came from his eyes. I would not change that for the world. because people want to see that experience in a face and in a character. AI won't give you that, but again, it's just a tool.
All right, we have like 1 more minute left, and I just want to squeeze in a last question from Bazir. He asked, what about the actors who have never made movies, so first timers? AI needs a base to see them. So I'm assuming that he's saying that, you know, if AI can't find them, then they don't exist.
I think that's why you need to keep an environment alive with cinemas, where you can experience and do experiments and bring actors to stage and to screen. Otherwise, it will be very difficult.
I think to get very specific for that, I'm sorry, Lucas, were you finished?
No, please.
To get very specific with that, you have to have, I know AI uses IMDb, so you have to have an account there. Start making films, start going to festivals, start getting anything up there online so that the AI algorithm can find you, because they're going to have to find you somehow. And IMDb is a very big tool for that as well.
And don't focus on your IMDb star meter, because it will never be higher than when you're dead.
Okay, listen, that's so true. That is sadly so true for so many artists. All right, Margherita, unless you have any parting words as for new actors.
You mean
The
actors?
ones who have never made movies, so actors that have never made movies.
Any kind of movies.
Yes. How would you recommend they put themselves out there? Because the algorithm won't find them, right? If they don't have already.
The world is, you know, you have to believe in your, you have to trust your fragility, just that. And for me, it's the biggest challenge, but it's the only way to go through the fear and across that, and to go right to the heart, to the people and to the public. For me, that's the only goal of my job, but not because I'm a poet or I'm a romantic or I'm a fool, a crazy. And, you know, it's just because I'm an artist, okay?
Wonderful.
I don't know if the person who was writing the question is an actor, is an artist, is a younger guy, I don't know, a 18 years old boy or a 45 man actor, very good in the market, I don't know, but just feel, because if not, our job doesn't have any sense for me, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. Guys, we're out of time. This was such a great chat, but thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today, especially you, Larry, on holiday. Lucas, where are you calling in from? Home, right? You're in
Ghent. Home.
Ghent. Margherita from Switzerland. And to all of you, if you'd like to rewatch any of this, it will be available in a couple of days. We're going to take a short break now, but do stay tuned. Our award ceremony is coming right up in just a couple of minutes, the Ouchy award ceremony. You don't want to miss it. Again, thank you all for being with us today, panelists, and for those of you in the audience for joining us. We will be right back.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.